Sorry, I'm addicted to that song. What is it? I don't understand how every time there's like an old song that's in a Guardians scene or in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I instantaneously fall in love with it. Maybe it's because I just like that type of music. I was actually raised on that type of music. So maybe that's why it has such a big appeal to me, but it's just so jamming. And again, they just have great musical selection. So if for those of you who were wondering what I was listening to, that was the Rubber Band Man that played during the Guardians of the Galaxy scene. In fact, when they're introduced, that's the song that plays. And it's very fitting because that's kind of how the team is represented. You know, they have those oldies that are very classic. So yeah. Anyway, hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and welcome to my Avengers Infinity War spoilers discussion. Originally, this was supposed to be a video, but I thought, you know what? Instead of like making you guys wait for me to do a Avengers spoiler video, I could just do it live and share my thoughts right now. For those who are interested to hear it. So. Now, I did see the film twice, and I will say after watching it a second time, I have a new perspective on the film. Now, I still feel the same way to a certain degree, but I guess the things that annoyed me the first go-around didn't annoy me as much anymore. Maybe it's because I expected it, maybe because I kind of knew what the flow of the movie was going to be, so I kind of prepared myself not to be annoyed. Or maybe it's just, maybe I just have, like I said, a newfound respect for the film. I don't really know where to begin with this spoilers discussion. I don't think I have to recap the movie, but I'll give a rundown. How about that? So right off the get-go, it starts off where Thor Ragnarok left off, where you see that giant ship in front of the Asgardian refugee ship, and they basically they wipe it out. They kill everybody, and freaking poor Heimdall on the floor, clutching his side. Oh man, this guy has always been gypped. Poor Idris Elba, man. They couldn't give him a meaningful role. Just bad timing, I guess. So Thanos' henchmen and him are on the ship, and they want the Tesseract. They want the Space Stone. And freaking Thanos goes old school villain and freaking threatens to kill Thor in front of Loki. And Loki's like, crush away. I don't care about that guy. And he uses the Power Stone, puts it to his head, and just starts frying his mind. And it's actually, this movie is more gruesome than I expected. I did not expect it to be as dark and, well, not dour, but I did not expect it to be so dark and brutal. I mean, even the way that Loki dies is freaking brutal. He gets strangled to death, and you could literally see his head popping blood coming out of his eyes. You see him fall limp. That's dour compared to the other films. That's pretty damn dark. But yeah, so he threatens or he tortures Thor in front of Loki. He finally hands over the Tesseract. And then there's this really cool fight between Hulk and Thanos. And now in my review, I mentioned that there was a fight at the beginning of the film that I've always wanted to see. And that's the fight between Hulk and Thanos, because Thanos is actually as strong as the Hulk. He's one of the few characters in the Marvel universe that actually can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk and win. And you definitely see that in display. And one thing I loved is that he's actually kind of a smart fighter. You saw the way that he would punch the Hulk. He didn't punch him like he's just wild and crazy like the Hulk is, where he's just a wild beast trying to thrash his opponent. He's very precise with his punches. Like, he punches him in the neck, kind of like making him spaz out. Then he goes boom, 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 boom. Like, he's almost like a boxer in a sense, where he strategizes how he fights his enemy. And I thought that was excellent, because that's exactly how Thanos is also in the comic books. He's a smart, methodical villain. He's intellectually smart, and he's physically intimidating. Intellectually smart, that's an oxymoron. Not an oxymoron. That just seems very... Oh, man. What is up with me and not being able to think of the words I want to say? It's redundant. That's the word I was thinking of. I don't need to say intellectually smart. He's intellectual, and he's physically intimidating. So I'm glad that they displayed that. And I also like the fact that when he lifts him up, he throws him down in the same fashion that he threw Loki down in Avengers, the first Avengers. Oh, of course, it wasn't as cartoony, like blah, 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 like that. But the fact that it left an impact, and it had almost a similar sound effect. So that was pretty cool. And then Heimdall, in a last-ditch effort, his last real contribution to this universe is that he teleports Hulk to Earth, and then they kill him. By the way, was I the only one that found it fucking hilarious that the first character to die in this film was the black guy? Again, I'm not trying to say the film's racist. I just find it so funny because that is like such a cliche in the movie industry, where the black guy always dies first. And in not even a Marvel film can't escape this cliche, because Heimdall is the first character to whiff it. Now, his sacrifice was meaningful. I'll give him that. At least his death wasn't in vain. He sent the Hulk to Earth to warn everybody Thanos is coming. So at least they could be somewhat prepared. So after freaking Heimdall whiffs it, Thanos starts going on his monologuing, and he's like, okay, my children, go to Earth, find the other Infinity Stones. And then, remember I told you that there are some scenes where I felt like they did quipping just to do quipping? Well, this is one of those moments where after he tells his children to go to Earth to find the Infinity Stones, freaking Loki comes out and is like, hey, remember me? I would definitely love to be your guy. You know, I've been to Earth, and, you know, I have experience. And he's like, I don't consider failure an experience. I don't consider failure experience. He's like, no, I consider experience. And then he does the whole thing like, I, Loki, Prince of something. And then he tries to kill Thanos, which, a noble effort, but of course, totally in vain. And oh man, you just feel how powerless Loki is in this situation. You see him get lifted up by Thanos, and he's like struggling. Like you could see that he is outmatched. And keep in mind, he did that without having to use the Infinity Stones. He just strangled him to death, showing you just how powerful and threatening this man is. And of course, he blows up the ship, and now we go straight to Earth, where Hulk lands inside of Doctor Strange's the little mystic house, and he's like, Thanos is coming. Thanos is coming. And of course, Doctor Strange doesn't know who Thanos is, so he's just like, who? And then, of course, the credits roll. Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, they're walking in a I forget what park that is, but they're walking in a park, and then all of a sudden, Doctor Strange is like, "Hi, I'm Doctor Strange. I need you to come with me. You know, the fate of the universe depends on it." He's like, "Okay, who told you that?" And then he's like, "Hey, Tony," and it's the Hulk. It's Bruce Banner, and he hugs Tony Stark like, "Oh man, I've been through so much shit. You have no idea." And so they have this little talk about what they need to do in order to stop Thanos from getting the stones. Tony Stark wants to destroy the Time Stone, and Doctor Strange is like, no, I'm going to protect the Time Stone. So I like the fact that they are clashing on what the plan will be. To have them all just come to the table together like, yeah, this is the goal. That's not what it is. Excuse me. And of course, this is a big fight in New York. Man, New York just can't seem to get a break. They always seem to be getting attacked, don't they? And there's this really cool throwdown with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Wong, not really Bruce Banner because he doesn't turn into the Hulk throughout this entire film. Now, there's a reason for this. I hear a lot of people complaining, the Hulk's not in the movie that much. They're saving him for part 2. Well, at least we got to see the Hulk. If the Hulk wasn't in this film at all, then that'd be a problem. And we actually got to see him participate in a fight. It's not like we didn't get to see something cool with the Hulk. He fought Thanos. He lost. And because this is the first time he's ever been defeated handily, keep in mind, handily. Usually when the Hulk fights somebody, there's not really a real end game, or not end game, but there's not a real conclusion to the fight. So he's never been defeated outright. This is the first time the Hulk has been evenly matched and defeated outright. So that's why he's afraid to do anything, because he's scared. He doesn't want to fight Thanos again. That guy is an intimidating force. And if there's one thing the film does excellently, they know how to film Thanos to really exude his intimidating presence. Like every time I see a shot of him, whether it's in the shadows or in light, like this guy is menacing. Like well done with the CGI, well done with the performance, well done with the lighting. This might be the best Marvel villain, in my opinion. At this current time, I feel like he's the best Marvel villain, which is kind of relieving because they did build him up heavily, and the fact that it was a success, wonderful. Anywho, so they have a big fight with 2 of Thanos' children. They're called the Children of Thanos. This is a really cool one where he has like psychic powers. Oh man, I love that guy well, not love, but he's pretty cool. And another thing too, like usually we all get sick and tired of like nameless villains, nameless henchmen that come fight the heroes and get whiffed. The fact that we have these 4 children of Thanos and they're actually competent in what they do, that's actually interesting. And, it gives us other adversaries that the Avengers can actually pick off and win in a fair fight, because they can't do it with Thanos. Thanos, even without the Infinity Stone, is a bitch to fight. So anyway, Doctor Strange whiffs it. He gets kidnapped. Iron Man and Spider-Man go on the ship, and they sent out to space. And then Bruce is like, I'm going to make a phone call. And it then juxtaposes to space, and we see the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're playing the song Rubber Band Man. He's like, and by the way, I heard from a friend that the dialogue that most of the dialogue for the Guardians of the Galaxy was actually written by James Gunn. Like he helped in the creation of those scenes, the aesthetic, the look, the musical choice. I wouldn't even be surprised if that was a song he chose personally. Like, I want you to play the Rubber Band Man in this scene. Pay the rights for it. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. So, and you can definitely feel the James Gunn style coming to the forefront of this scene. It felt very James Gunn. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like kind of like what Sin City did, where there's like a special guest director, James Gunn. So they are answering a distress call that was made by the Asgardians. And when they get there, they realize the ship has been blown up. Everybody's dead. And then Thor lands on their ship, opens his eyes, and they're all like, oh my God, what's going on here? They wake him up. He tells them what happened. You see the look on Gamora's face like, oh, God, I thought I was done with this guy, but he's back. He's going to end the world, guys. He can wipe out half the universe with just a snap of his finger. And so then they're doing their little quippy thing. Now, I think I had a discussion with somebody either on Facebook or on YouTube where they said, I understand why you don't like the quipping so much, Tony, but you got to understand that it is within character for these characters to quip like that. And I think that is actually a fair point. If there's one thing that the Guardians are known for, they're freaking quippers. They tell jokes. They don't really take things very seriously. Peter Quill is the personification of that. The moment that he shows up on screen, it's almost like he's telling a joke every other second. But the thing is, he can also be dramatic. And that's something I did not give this film more credit. Those dramatic scenes are actually really good. We'll get to that later. There are two that really hit home for me. Actually, three. There's three that really hit home for me. So he tells them that he has to go to some place, some mythical place, to go make a weapon to kill Thanos. And so him, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot head out to go find this place to make the weapon. And this is kind of a problem that I had with the film. The film kind of negates a lot of the conclusions from past films, namely Civil War and Thor Ragnarok. At the end of Thor Ragnarok, if you guys remember, Thor was told by his father that he doesn't need his hammer to be the God of Thunder. That was more or less to hone his powers, like to keep it under control. But once you get control of it, you no longer need it. So in the fact that they have to create a weapon, that made me scratch my head like, wait a minute, but at the end of Thor Ragnarok, his father flat out tells him he doesn't need a weapon to kill people. He doesn't need a weapon to be the God of Thunder. He himself is the weapon. So that made me go, okay, well, why do you need a killing hammer? Can't you be the one? You don't need to hone your powers anymore. You have gained control of it. So that reneged the ending, which was a fine ending for Thor Ragnarok. Just so that we can have a cool weapon, which I won't lie, it's pretty cool to see it. But at the same time, for what it stood for, it's like, well, then the ending of Thor Ragnarok is pointless. It meant nothing. Thor's development, I should say, he didn't really have much development, but his development was basic. It led to nothing. It was squandered. Excuse me. All right, and then what happens after that? So the Guardians of the Galaxy split up. We have Gamora, Drax, Peter, and Mantis. They're heading to nowhere. Thor, Rocket, and Groot are heading over to Mythical Place. And then I think it cuts to back to Earth. Yeah, it goes back to Earth, and we see Vision and Scarlet Witch. Now, another thing I've been hearing from a lot of people is they're like, where did this relationship come from? It came out of the blue. No. Not only did they set up this romance, but it actually has precedence in the comics. This is actually what happened. Vision and Scarlet Witch actually fell in love with each other. And I don't know if you guys ever noticed, like, I guess it's kind of like a subtle detail. Well, I don't even think it was subtle. I felt like it was very explicit. But if you watch Age of Ultron, you can tell Ultron loved, oh, shoot, what's her name? What's Scarlet Witch's real name? Does somebody know what Scarlet Witch's real name is again? I forgot what her real name was. But yeah, you can tell that Ultron loved Scarlet Witch. The way that he would look at her, the way that he would talk to her, the way that he would try to touch her gently, passionately. Even the scene where he dies, he seems very concerned for Wanda. Her name is Wanda. He seems very concerned for Wanda. The scene where she like shows up and she's like, Wanda, you have to leave. You'll die here. That shows that he has concern for Wanda. He deeply cares for her. And keep in mind, Vision is a mixture of Ultron, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Jarvis, all of them combined together. Even the movie points this out. And some of Ultron still exist inside of Vision. So some of those feelings that Ultron had for Wanda reside in Vision, and then they slowly bloomed into something great or something more that's beyond the feelings of Ultron and became how Vision saw Wanda. And did we all forget the way their little cute little exchanges in Civil War? They set up this romance. Now, do I feel like they kind of left a lot of things open as to the progression of the romance? Maybe. I think that's a fair argument because it goes from like little cute banter and then talking about having dinner together to, oh yeah, we're making love. Big leap, but there was a setup to it. It's not like it came out of nowhere. And then there's a fight in Scotland. Vision gets his ass kicked, and I was actually quite surprised. I get that he was wounded, so maybe that's why he couldn't be so badass. And he can't phase. That's one of his main powers. He phases in and out. So I guess because he couldn't phase anymore, that really restricted his abilities. But I always thought that he was a competent fighter too. But he was being he was getting his ass handed to him by some goblin-looking motherfucker. And also, I don't know why they continue to freaking nerf Scarlet Witch's powers. Scarlet Witch is the most powerful character, the most powerful Avenger in the team. And each and every time I feel like they limit her abilities for the sake of making it fair, I guess. Because if we were to really give Wanda her true powers, this fight would have been over a long time ago. She would actually be able to defeat Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. But I guess they don't want to do that because that just seems it's anticlimactic. So fair enough, you know. So they end up in like a subway or a train station. Captain America shows up with his badass team of heroes, Sam Wilson and Natasha. They just kick ass and take names. It was wonderful to watch. I love whenever I see the team cooperating together to take down a foe. It's excellent. And the best example of that is whenever you see Captain going toe-to-toe with villains, because he knows how to cooperate as a unit, as a team. He is the leader of the Avengers, after all. But okay, so to talk about another problem I had with the film, and I talked about this in my review about some of the interactions or the fact that some characters didn't get enough screen time. Damn, dude, Steve Rogers. I was so let down because all he is stoic, serious man. And the thing is, that's not what made Captain America so charming. There was a sense of patriotism to him. He could be a bit, I wouldn't say goofy. I don't think the word goofy is the right word, but he can be a bit lighthearted and, you know, sentimental. That's one thing that was missing in this film, the sentimentality that Steve Rogers exudes. You know, comforting people, having serious discussions. Like, that's why I love Civil War so much, is because you actually see Captain America bonding with every character in the film to a certain degree. Except for, of course, you know, Zemo. He didn't really bond with Zemo, but he bonded with everybody else pretty well. And I wanted to see that come back in this film as well. But he's just always like, serious. We got to get to the bottom of this. Which I can respect too, because at least he's trying to get to the point rather than just wasting time equipping and stopping the scene just to tell a joke, which happens a lot in the Guardian scene, Thor scene, Iron Man scene. So the fact that we have one guy that is taking the situation quite seriously, I'm okay with that. Oh. And next we go to a scene where actually it's a flashback where we see a bit of Gamora's backstory, which again I loved. I love that we finally get to learn more about Gamora because out of all of the Guardians, she's the one we know the least outside of Groot. Although I don't think we need to know who Groot is. Groot is Groot. I am Groot. That's all we need to know about him. He's a tree monster. But I really wanted to learn more about Gamora. I'm glad that they did this backstory. And it also sets up the motivations of the villain. Like, I didn't notice that at first, but I saw they divided the planet to two sides, the left side and the right side, and the left side gets completely obliterated. He wiped out half the population. And I will say that after watching it a second time, I don't consider Thanos' motivations to be weak anymore. I do think that it was well established. He did have purpose. There was a reason behind what he was doing, even though it was very misguided. Yeah, it was just he was misguided. He was misguided in the fact that he believes that he's doing the right thing, even though it's a skewed sense of justice. It's a skewed sense of doing the right thing. And actually, that's what's so great about it, is that he's not entirely wrong. He's not entirely villainous, I would say. He has purpose to his actions. He's not the stoic, I want to take over the world guy. He's like, the universe is in chaos. I'm going to be the one to say, hey, I'm willing to do what it takes to keep the universe intact, to keep it balanced. Now, of course, I still don't understand why he would want to balance the universe, because from what it, again, based on the established lore in this cinematic universe, he's a conqueror. Even Gamora goes that far to say he's a conqueror. He destroys things. He takes over planets. Now, there's a reason behind that, but that's who he was. He's a conqueror. He loves the challenge. He loves dominating over people. And that's really all I wanted Thanos to do. I wanted him to make the Avengers feel insignificant, and to for the most part, he does that, but he does it with like this, oh yeah, I'm the good guy kind of sense, which I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. Some people do like that, and I do think that in a sense, this is Thanos' story. I wouldn't go so far to say that he's the protagonist, though. But there's this really emotional exchange between Gamora and Peter Quill. I loved this scene. It's a great scene. And I know some people might say that I'm going to say Drax ruined the scene. I don't think he did. I thought that's perfect comedic timing. That's the stuff that I liked from the Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's in tune with Drax's character. Like Dave Bautista, who would have thought this man, who no one ever took seriously as an actor, a professional actor, is one of the best actors in this film. He's always charming to see, dude. Oh, damn. That whole scene where he's like, if I stay real still, I'm invisible to the human eye. It's like, no, you're not. But my movement, it's so slow. And then Mantis comes out. Hi, Drax. Damn it. That's solid comedy. That's one of the few moments in the film where I felt like the comedy really worked. But back to the dramatic scene. So Gamora looks, well, Peter asks Gamora about these bombs. He's trying to be, funny and quirky. And Gamora very seriously looks to Peter. She's like, if the moment comes when Thanos finds us, I want you to promise me that you'll kill me. And of course, Peter doesn't know how to respond to that. And how could you respond to that? How could you kill the one that you love? That's some heavy shit. But I did like this exchange. It's a beautiful exchange between these two characters. And I'm finally glad that they kissed. I've been waiting 2 movies for them to kiss. Too bad it had to be in the movie where one of them is going to die. Oh, well, more on that a little later. And so I think after this scene, they actually end up in nowhere. And the Collector is getting his ass kicked by Thanos. He's like, give me the stone, motherfucker. I know you have it. And they try to do the whole sneak tactic mission to go take him down. But Drax gets all hot-headed, sees Thanos like, by the way, in the first Guardians film, did they say that it was Thanos who killed his family, or was it Ronan? Because I remember him saying that Ronan killed his family, but I guess because Ronan worked for Thanos. So in sense, he's going after the head guy. It's similar to what's his name? Oberyn, where he fights both the Mountain, but he knows that Tywin's the one making the calls. But it was the Mountain who executed the you executed the decision made by the upper head. That's the similar sense where Ronan was the one that executed Thanos' plan. And so he sees Thanos, he's like, I'm gonna attack, and then Mantis puts him to sleep. He falls loudly onto the ground, so Thanos is alerted to their presence, and he's like, I know you guys are here. And then Gamora goes into badass mode, starts attacking, and then freaking stabs Thanos in the neck, and you see her do this. This is the most gruesome PG-13 movie I've seen in a long time, man. The shit they got away with in this film, I mean, that's some balls, man. That is some balls. Stabs him in the neck, then stabs him in the heart, and you see him go, why, daughter, why? And Gamora breaks down. What I found interesting about this scene is that you can tell that this character is conflicted. She knows that Thanos is an evil bastard. She knows that he's misguided. She knows that his idea of protecting the world by killing half of the population is wrong. But this was still a man that raised her. This was still a man that provided for her. So she's I like this conflict within her character to know how to feel about Thanos. Does she hate him? Does she love him? She doesn't know. She's so torn. How could you hate somebody that protected you, but at the same time, how could you love somebody that slaughtered your family? It's a very interesting dilemma that character faced. Although it was all a facade because he used the reality stone to alter what was actually happening at nowhere. The place was actually in fire. Then he uses the reality stone to mess with Drax, mess with Mantis, and then we get the scene where freaking Peter Quill, he's gonna shoot him, and he's like, I don't consider myself a boyfriend. I consider myself a Titan-killing booty call within his character. And then Gamora seriously says to him, Peter, not him. He's like, oh. And she's like, you promised. Again, this is what another great and powerful dramatic scene. Because again, and it's all done very subtly through the actors' performances. The acting in this film is fantastic. I don't think I gave it enough praise in my review. I don't even think I touched on it in my review. My bad. The acting in this film is phenomenal. Like, especially when it comes to the subtle acting, from Gamora to Thanos himself too. Thanos even has some subtle acting. Josh Brolin did an amazing job in his motion capture work. But this scene where you see Peter is now conflicted. Gamora was conflicted earlier about killing Thanos. Now he's conflicted about killing Gamora. And you can tell that although he loves her, he knows he has to do the right thing. He promised that he would kill her. But of course, Thanos messed with them, made him shoot out bubbles, then turned his gun into bubbles. He's like, I like you. Oh, man. Just be fucking with people, man. Cut to Avengers headquarters. Rhodey is talking to the Secretary of the State, or Secretary of State, William Hurt's character, Mr. Ross, or the Secretary Ross, I should say. And for some reason now, he has a change of heart, Rhodey. This was the man that was so adamant about saying, yeah, we need to sign these accords. Now, all of a sudden, because he lost his legs, he's going to be like, yeah, man, I hate the government now. Again, going back to the fact that a lot of the endings from other films were completely botched, reneged, nerfed, I should say. Because at the end of Civil War, everybody split up. Nobody trusts nobody. And I remember reading an article with Anthony Mackie, who plays Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and he said that his character shows resentment towards the other side. He doesn't like Rhodey. He still blames them for everything that went down. But the thing is, you never see it in the film. Sam's very friendly. Like the moment that Rhodey talks to Sam, Sam is very friendly to him. This is the man that put you guys in prison, and you're friendly with him? What is this? There's no animosity at all. Now, for Cap, I can understand why there was no animosity. He knew he was just doing what he was supposed to do as a soldier, so he respects what Rhodey did. But Sam probably would have been angry about it. And I never even brought this up, but the fuck is Black Widow doing with this team? Wasn't she? Well, I guess she kind of did leave the Avengers at the end of Civil War. So yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I'll buy that one. But I don't know. I feel like the ending to Civil War becomes obsolete after this movie, especially because I feel like there was no real ramification outside of Stark not talking to Steve. Other than that, where do you guys feel the impact of Civil War in this film? Because I'll be honest, I didn't. The moment I saw Vision and Scarlet Witch together, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess the ending to Civil War meant nothing. There's no ill will, no hard feelings for any of these characters. What? That's weird. So yeah, so they all decide to team up. They figure out that they gotta destroy the stone, but of course, Scarlet Witch is torn. I actually like that one of the main focuses or the themes in this film is about sacrificing for one's love. You know, Gamora did it with Peter. Vision's doing it with Scarlet. I did love that. And let me backtrack a little bit. And then Bruce Banner comes out. He's like, hey guys, been a while. And you see Natasha's like, hi, Bruce. And he's like, Nat. And that's it. That's all we get. Oh, man, that fucking sucks. I wanted to see them actually kind of have a real small, tender moment. I mean, if we could get one with the Vision and Scarlet Witch, Gamora and Peter Quill, why couldn't we get one with the Hulk and Black Widow? I actually like that relationship. I feel cheated. I wanted to see these two come back together again, but no, I guess I don't get that. So Vision tells the team that we should probably destroy the gem before, or the stone. I keep saying gem. It's a stone. That we should destroy the stone before Thanos even shows up. Of course, Scarlet Witch is torn by this because if we destroy the stone, we destroy you. I'm not losing you, Viz. So they try to figure out maybe if we can just take the stone out without having to sacrifice Vision. And Vision brings up a really good point because here's Steve Rogers, a man who sacrificed his own life to save countless of others from dying. And he's telling Vision, hey, man, we're not sacrificing one life. Okay, that's not what we're going to do. And he's like, you fucking hypocrite. You did the same thing. Of course, Bruce comes to the rescue and explains that, you have a choice. We can't just let you die. And I'm like, well, if he's willing to take one for the team, I'm not one to say no to him. I probably would commend him, salute the guy for, saving the universe. But they needed to bring Wakanda into the story. So, of course, we hear that freaking Black Panther score. Jesus, that score's amazing. I love that score, man. And you see T'Challa, he's walking in the field trying to get Bucky. He's like, hey, it's time to go to war. And then we cut to, I think at this point, I think we finally get back to Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man on the ship. Doctor Strange is being tortured by the Psychic Man. Another cool scene. I love this villain. I kind of wish he was in it longer, but I understand that, he had to go down, and he goes down in a very clever way. But I'll get to that scene. So Iron Man finds out that Spider-Man's in with them, and he basically yells at him. Although at this point, can we not have this yelling? They're speaking really damn loud. I'm surprised the Psychic Guy didn't just like levitate up there. It's like, I can hear you guys, right? And then he just attacks them while they're freaking squabbling with each other. That probably would have made me laugh out loud. But they're like yelling and screaming and quipping and all that stuff. I'm like, guys, Doctor Strange needs help right now. He's being tortured because he's not giving up the Time Stone. And so Iron Man floats down there. The Psychic Guy starts levitating things. He's like, you're no match for me. Iron Man's like, yeah, you're right. I am no match for you. But, Spider-Man knows more movies. Shoots a hole into the ship, sucks the guy out. Spider-Man comes down, saves Doctor Strange from being blasted out into space, and then they seal up the hole. That's the scene I was talking about. That's the scene I said in my review that was so damn clever it made me smile. Because, again, it's not that they had to go duke it out with this guy. They just had to outsmart him. And considering that the three people in that ship are the three smartest people in the Marvel universe, or at least in this cinematic universe, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man. Yes, Spider-Man is a genius. I know a lot of people like to forget that. He's actually pretty smart. But so, yeah, they blow him out of the ship. So freaking cool. Doctor Strange is like, let's go back home. Tony's like, no, let's take the fight to him. He'll never expect it. Yeah, because that's going to turn out well. But of course, we need an excuse for them to meet the Guardians, which is totally fine by me. And so, by the way, I love that shot where it's like slowly zooming in to Robert Downey Jr. talking to Benedict Cumberbatch. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, wow, two Sherlock Holmes in one scene talking to each other. This, we'll never see that again. It was a delight to see. Although I find it funny that why in the world would you team up all the Tony Stark-like characters? You got Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, Peter Quill. All three of them are Tony Stark-like characters, large personalities, and they do clash quite a lot. Once we get to, Titan and Tony starts talking to Peter Quill, you're going to see that in full effect. But yeah, so they have a discussion about their plan. They decide that, no, we're going to go to Titan. And Doctor Strange lets Tony know that, if it was between you, the kid, or the stone, I'm picking the stone, okay? I have to do it for the sake of the universe, which later on he kind of contradicts his statement, but there's a reason. I know there's a reason behind it. I'm not oblivious. So yeah, after that, I think we go to Thor. They end up at that place, find out that the star. Oh, actually, I should talk about that little touching moment between Rocket and Thor. Again, really fantastic acting. I think that might have been the best performance I've ever seen Chris Hemsworth give as Thor. Because usually with Thor, he's all bravado. He's never scared. He's always up for the challenge. In this moment, although you don't see it in his face, you can tell this man is terrified of Thanos. He's terrified at the fact of facing him again. He does want to kill him, but he doesn't know if what he's going to do will actually have an effect. He's scared. Again, he may not say it, but you can definitely see it through the subtlety in his movements, his tone of voice, the way that he answers the questions, and that little he turns away, dramatic turn away. They get to the star, they find out that it's dead. Peter Dinklage shows up out of nowhere, looking so weird, it's so jarring to see him like that. And he has a really good dramatic scene, although I think that's the only time he actually gives a good performance, because I do feel like he phoned it in this film. There's a part in the film where he's just like standing and he's giving directions, and it just looks like he's reading the monitor off screen. Peter, say this. Okay. And so the star is dead, but they have to find a way to bring it back to life. And in order to do that, they have to restart the star by moving the orbity thingies. We go back to Thanos and Gamora. They're back in his ship. They have a nice dialogue. She explains her resentment towards him. He actually displays how much he cared for her, even though she doesn't believe it. Even though she doesn't believe it, but it is actually true. Then he brings her to this room where her sister is. You see Nebula there, and I thought it was a really clever shot where you see her front view, and then when we slowly switch to the side, you see that she's broken into pieces. And this guy really loves to torture people, man, and he gets a thrill out of it. He just closes his fist and starts torturing the shit out of her. Ah! And she's like, I don't know where it is. I swear to you. And then plays a recording. And he's like, I never taught you to lie. That's why you're so bad at it. Where's the stone? Ooh, again, the way that they present Thanos in this film. I mean, he goes behind Gamora, guys. You can't even see him in the frame anymore. That's how big he is. He puts his hands over. You see the size of his hand compared to Gamora's face. If he really wanted to, he could grab her head and crush it in his hand. But no, he loves to toy with her. Like, I'll kill your sister if you don't tell me what it is. He messes with people's emotions because he knows how to manipulate people to get what he wants. Again, showing the genius that is Thanos. He's not just some mindless bad guy. He's methodical. He's precise. He's megalomaniacal in some sense. And so she finally tells him where it is, and he's like, "Take me to the stone gem." They go to Earth. They go to Wakanda. They get all prepared, and yeah, we do all that stuff. Big old fights coming its way. Tony and the gang crash onto Titan. Wait, I feel like I missed a couple of things. Hold up. Let me backtrack. So they start the star up, but then one of the mechanisms got destroyed. So they have to... No. That's not what it is. I feel like... What am I missing? I'm missing something. I feel like I'm missing a scene somewhere. I don't know where. Because they end up in Wakanda. I know that. Preparing for the big old fight. Then they crash land... Like, Tony and the gang crash land on Titan. They meet the Guardians there. Fun exchanges to be had. Thor starts off the machine. I guess we'll just cut straight to Boromir. So they end up in Boromir, which is kind of like a desert wonderland with water everywhere too. And there's this guy, he's the keeper of the soul gem. And when you finally see who it is, you're like, what? Freaking Red Skull. And for years, I've been saying Red Skull is still alive, guys. Everyone told me I was crazy for saying that. Tony, he clearly died at the end of the first Avenger. He got shot into space. Yes, he got shot into space. He was teleported somewhere. So he's still alive. And now he's cursed to be the protector of the soul gem in a sense. And he tells Thanos that in order to get the soul gem, you actually need to sacrifice somebody that you love. And you see, the camera slowly pans through his face, and you see he's just weighing the options in his mind. Like, do I have to really sacrifice somebody that I love? Do I really have to do this? He's weighing the options. He's torn by this decision, but he knows he has to do what he needs to do in order to fulfill his destiny in his sense. Gamora mocks him at this point, saying that, you know, all this time I've been waiting for you to get what you deserve, and I've been disappointed so far. But finally, I've reached the point where there is something that the Living Tribunal would erase them if they do that. Oh, man, it would have been so great to see the Living Tribunal in here. Although I don't think audiences would be able to handle such an over-the-top character, the Living Tribunal. A lot of the celestial beings would be too much for regular movie-going audience. I mean, there's literally a guy named Eternity that is the living embodiment of the entire universe. Nobody's going to be able to understand that. Anywho, so in this scene, Gamora's taunting Thanos like, ha ha ha, you can't get the soul gem because you got nothing to sacrifice. You love nobody. Thanos turns and he's tearing up. Gamora's like, really? Tears? Because you can't get what you want? What are you, a fucking crybaby? And then Red Skull says what I predicted the moment that they arrived there. He's like, those tears aren't for him. And, oh, man, this scene. It's a great scene. And it actually makes me want to highlight another thing I totally did not give any props to in my review, the music. The score by Alan Silvestri. I love the music in this film, especially in the scene that I'm just talking about right now, where Thanos sacrifices Gamora. The music in the scene is perfect. It's excellent. It's a great score. And I know a lot of people have always bitched about the Marvel films not having really standoutish scores, and I think that's a fair criticism. But in this film, the score is fantastic from beginning to end. The music pieces, whether they're callbacks to other themes or their own original themes, they're really well done. And Alan Silvestri did a great job composing the music here. So Thanos throws Gamora off the cliff, and you just see him. He's looking down as she falls, and Gamora's like crying for her life. And one thing I didn't notice the first time around is that if you see where she lands, there's actually a green puddle around her head. Oh my God. Oh, it's so subtle, you can't even see it that well. I guess because it was such a dark, it was in like shadow, so you couldn't really see the green. But when I look closely, I'm like, wait a minute, is that like a green puddle of blood around her? Holy shit. Oh my God, they actually did that. And Jesus, that was brutal. But he got his soul gem finally. Cut to, I want to say, the Titan. Cut to Titan. Tony, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, they fight the Guardians of the Galaxy. They name drop Thor, and they're like, hey, let's all team up together to figure out how to defeat Thanos. And so they come up with a plan. Cut back to Wakanda. They're about to get ready for the big fight. They get into the big fight. That happens. Thor restarts the star by putting his body through immense heat in order to get the beam to heat the machinery so that they can melt this weapon for him. He seems like he's dying, and then they make the mold, and he's looking for like the stick, the staff, like the handle. He's like, help me find the handle. And Groot finally decides, you know what? Enough playing video games. I'm going to get into the story. He takes both sides of the hammer, clinks it together, and it's hot. Keep in mind, he's getting hurt. He's like, ah! He makes his arm like really stiff. Then he goes, Phew! You see the lightning in Thor's fingers. You see the hammer, I guess the hammer start, or it's an axe. Is it a hammer or is it an axe? It's an axe hammer. So you see it's a war hammer. Better yet, it's a war hammer. You see it like starting to spark and move, and you could tell, okay, yeah, it's gonna fly to his hand thing. They're having the big fight still in Wakanda. All of a sudden, everyone's getting their asses handed to them. There's too many of them. Thor summons his ass down there with Groot and Rocket Raccoon. He's like, bring me Thanos! And they charge. And oh my God, seeing him leap up into the air with that war hammer and then boom! My God, that looks amazing. Although still, Thor doesn't need a hammer to use his powers anymore. I thought we made that quite clear. Okay, whatever. They get into the big fight. Then Thanos goes to Titan. He fights the Avengers over there. It seems like they have the upper hand, but of course, it has to go awry. And what happens is that Peter learns that Thanos killed Gamora. And in his state of emotions, he acts stupid. Here's my question. They had him pinned down. Why not just shoot him in the head? That was my thing. I guess it's Disney, Tony, and it would be too easy to just shoot him in the head. Like, if Peter was really angry about him killing Gamora, I would have just shot him in the face. I would have done the Brad Pitt thing from Seven. Like, just do the and then just bam, 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 bam. Bam, bam, bam. And then boom. We don't have to worry about Thanos anymore. He's dead. You shot him in the head. But no, he just smacks him in the head. What? You smack him in the head? What the hell are you thinking? What are you, a child? Shoot him. Of course, they can't get the glove off. They come close, but of course, Peter Quill had to get into the way. This is actually a really fun fight scene, by the way. And this is something I highlighted in my review about. I like when you see the Avengers actually cooperating together as a team. I mean, seeing Doctor Strange using his magic to help Star-Lord leap across to plant the bomb on Thanos' back, and he goes, boom! And then also opening up portals for Spider-Man to fly in, fly out, fly in, fly out. Doctor Strange is probably the second coolest character in this film because he does the coolest shit. I actually am kind of sad he never uses the time stone in a fight. I thought it would have been really cool to use the time stone. Like, maybe he stops time and he just beats the shit out of Thanos while he stopped time, or maybe kill Thanos, or maybe take the glove off while he in fact, why didn't he just do that? Why didn't he just stop time, take the glove off, then get everybody into a ship and then fly away? He has Okay, but let's not overthink things. Let's keep it simple. Anyway, so they're all fighting Thanos. They lose, of course. Um, they get to the point where Tony is the only one left to fight Thanos, and it's a pretty awesome fight. Although it's not evenly matched. As much as Tony Stark is cool, he's not the strongest Avenger, and he gets his ass handed to him soundly, and he gets stabbed in the stomach. Ooh, it was brutal. I actually thought they were going to kill him, which would have been actually quite bold. You know, actually kill the face of the Marvel franchise, and in a death that seems very impactful, in my opinion. But of course, Doctor Strange's like, wait, please spare his life. I'll give you the stone. And this again another really cool shot where you see like the stars in the background, and there's like three bright ones, and he just goes, and one of the stars is in the middle of his fingers, and it just glows green, and boom, the time stone. Now, this is what really confused me because earlier he stated that if he had to choose between Tony Stark, Spider-Man, or the stone, he'll pick the stone. Why then would he hand the stone over to Thanos? Doesn't that kind of go against what you were saying earlier about I would not hesitate to sacrifice the stone or sacrifice you guys in order for the stone? But he says that this is the end game, so there must be a plan for why he's doing this. I hope that they elaborate in the next film. He said this is the end game and this was the only way, so I want to know what is the plan. What did he plan? But the thing is, he fades out of existence at the end of the film. So will he even be there to execute the plan? I don't know. Star-Lord still enraged at the fact, and he finally starts shooting at Thanos because I don't know why he just didn't do that to begin with. He's charging at him, and then Thanos uses the teleportation to go to Earth so that he can get the final stone off of Vision's head. And let me backtrack a little bit. There's a really cool scene in the fight in Wakanda where you see Bucky and Rocket Raccoon in a scene together, and he picks up the Rocket Raccoon, and he has a gun in like his left hand, picks up Rocket Raccoon on his right, and he just goes like this. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's the type of interactions I want to see in this film. That's fun. That's fantastic. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's kind of silly. And it led to a really fun exchange between two characters that have never met each other ever. Although I find it interesting that Bucky had no real reaction to seeing a talking raccoon. I can buy it because, you know, in their universe, they've seen so much bizarre shit. I guess they just kind of feel like, oh, okay, well, that's not that surprising. You see Steve Rogers like talk to Groot one time. He's like, I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers. Oh, my God. So let's cut to Thanos coming to Earth. The Avengers are now in like, we got to stop him mode. And he just whiffs everybody. Boom, boom. Nobody's putting up a fight. It doesn't even matter because none of you can put up a fight anyway. I have 5 of the 6 Infinity Stones. You're all fucked either way. And so Vision's like, please, Wanda, you have to destroy the stone. We are literally out of time. You got to do this or else he's going to gain control of everything. And so she does do what he asks. He says he loves her. He explodes. And we're all, well, before that too, there is the scene where, you know, Captain America makes one last stand and he's holding the Infinity Gauntlet. And I was actually kind of surprised because Thanos looked like, wait a minute, how's this guy holding me back with my, because he's holding his fist open. So he can't use the Infinity Gauntlet. Pretty smart, right? So he's like making sure that he doesn't close his fist. So he's like, damn it, dude, get out of my way. Punches him. And again, he's trying to make his way over to Wanda, which I don't know why he just, again, doesn't use the time stone to stop time and then just take things. Can you stop time with the time stone? I don't know. They need to kind of express what the time stone can do and what it can't do. Because I feel like if you have the time stone, can't you just stop time and then save everyone the trouble of having to do everything else? Wanda blows Vision up. And it seems like, oh, looks like I was foiled again. I have the time stone, you idiot. I can reverse time, bring him back to life. Brings him back, picks him up, freaking yanks the Mind Stone out of his head, and you just see him go limp. Oof. So many limp bodies in this film. Jesus Christ. And God, could you imagine? Not only do you die once at the hands of your lover, but then you come back to die a second time in the most brutal way possible, having it just yanked out of your head. Oh, man. That's devastating. And so he finally puts the stone gem, or the mind stone on his Infinity Gauntlet, and now he has all of the stones. And then all of a sudden, Thor comes out of nowhere, throws his Warhammer, it hits Thanos into the chest. He grabs him by the hands, like, I told you you would die for that. Shoves, like, pushes it in, and Thanos like, oh. You should have gone for the head. Snaps his finger. And then he goes into like this limbo. He sees Gamora, the younger version of Gamora, and she's like, "Did you do it?" "Yes." "And what did it cost you?" "Everything." I do like that they make Thanos somewhat relatable. They humanize this character, which I will say is different. And I like this choice. I know I was very torn about how to feel about Thanos. I don't feel torn anymore. I think he's a great villain. They did a really great job writing him, making him interesting, making his motivation seem quite feasible, at least in the context of this film, even though I feel like it wasn't in the context of the rest of the film. And I can argue with people with that later. But that whole thing where he just tells her, I lost everything just to make sure that I'm able to complete my goal. And as long as I'm able to fulfill my destiny, I'll accept the cost. And I thought that was kind of powerful. I like that scene. There's another beautifully shot scene, by the way. Very comic book like. Although I don't know. Because it was the arches in her homeland. Duh. And then Thor's like, "What did you do? What did you do?" And then he just teleports away. And then Steve's like, "Where'd he go? Thor, where did he go?" You hear Bucky, "Steve." He turns into dust in front of Steve Rogers' eyes. Steve walks over there and it's like he touches the dust like, what the fuck? And then who's the next one to fade away? It was so a lot of the Wakandan soldiers are starting to fade away and all that stuff. Freaking Black Panther. He walks up to Michonne from The Walking Dead. He's like, this is no place to die. And then he starts to fade away. And you could see the shocked look in her eyes like, what the hell? T'Challa, where you at? Groot fades away, guys. I'm Groot. And then freaking, oh man, Rocket Raccoon's like, no, Groot, no. I'm like, oh fuck, dude. This is hitting me so hard right now. Sam fades away. And what sucked about him fading away, no one really cared. It was just Rhodey, I guess, that cared. Although it's so funny because I thought Rhodey was gonna fade away, and Rhodey and Sam, I thought were gonna fade away, but I guess they kept Rhodey because Don Cheadle's like, hey man, I'm a very credible actor. I don't want to fade away. I signed a contract, okay? I can't fade away. So Sam fades away. Scarlet Witch fades away. Oh man! And then over in Titan, all of the Guardians fade away. First Mantis, then Drax. Oh my God! Drax is like, Peter, what's happening? And you see the shocked look on Peter's face, like, oh God damn, what happened? He did it. And then Peter fades away. Doctor Strange fades away. Like, this is the only way. Then, oh my God. Spider-Man. I feel funny. I feel funny, Mr. Stark. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Nebula's like, he did it. And you see all the Avengers on Earth standing near Vision's body. Rhodey's so confused. What's going on here? What the hell just happened? What's going on? And it just slowly pans up to Captain America's face, and he's like, "Oh God. Oh God." Then it cuts to Thanos in the Philippines somehow in a hut. And he did what he said he wanted to do after he accomplished his goals, like, sit down, rest, and smile. And he's like, I'm accomplished. And then it goes into the credits. And then the post-credit scene is freaking Nick Fury, which I was sitting there like, where the hell have you been? We've been needing you this whole time, and you haven't even been a part of this action. Come on. He's talking to Maria Hill. Then they realize something weird's happening. And then he sees that people are fading away. He's like, oh shit, I better call Captain Marvel. Then Nick Fury starts to fade away. And he's like, oh man, and then he fades away. And of course it zooms into the pager, and it's the logo of I forgot what that race of people. The Kree? I think it's the Kree. The Kree logo pops up. And then of course the colors of Captain Marvel. And that made me go like, is she gonna like have such a monumental impact? This character we've never met before is gonna be like the deciding factor of like how this Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to change. Here's what I think. Since they're phasing out all the old heroes, Captain Marvel, I mean, kind of fitting. Captain Marvel, Captain America, I guess they're just gonna switch. Now Captain Marvel is gonna be the leader of the new Avengers, while the old Avengers either die or they retire or something like that. So, but yeah, that's my spoilers discussion. I know that was longer than I expected. Jesus, it was an hour and 7 minutes, but I went into like the whole description of the film. I think I loved this film more the second time around than I did the first time around. Like, the emotions really hit. They hit home tremendously. And this film could have easily failed in that department, but they didn't. I think the writing is solid. I am still not a fan of all the quipping. Thanos' motivations are more clear to me now. I don't think that they're weak. I think that they're quite grounded. It makes sense why he's doing what he's doing. But at the same time, it makes me go, well, I'm kind of glad that Gamora pointed out my biggest problem. Whereas, like, how do you know that the rest of the universe is like, Titan or like my planet? You don't know that. She even calls him out on it. I was like, thank you. How did I not catch that before? So I'm glad that at least one character was thinking the thing I was thinking. Like, how do you know? So I do still think that his motivations in this film is still contradictory to the way that they set him up in previous films, where he seemed more like that, I want to just dominate this universe. I know that's kind of a cliche, like, I want to take over the universe. But the thing is, Thanos wasn't really about taking over the universe. It was about exuding his power over the universe, showing that, like, he wanted a good fight. He loves a good challenge. And I think you could have still made an interesting villain with a very simple backstory of, like, in my world, only the strongest can survive. But I respect and appreciate the direction they took with Thanos. And at least he turned out to be an excellent villain instead of a bullshit villain like, who's that one in Justice League? What's his name? Steppenwolf? Fuck that guy. Or like Hela. Hela's a bad villain. So, and then many of the more dark. Would you rather have the dark elf type of villain? No, no, no. I'm glad that they did Thanos in this way. They humanized him. They made him somewhat relatable. They gave him motivation. Josh Brolin was phenomenal. I mean, Jesus Christ, the subtlety in his performance, as well as the exuding that menacing presence, man. Jesus, the facial acting that he does in this film is really solid. In fact, I remember I was reading an article recently too where he said that he loved playing Thanos more than he did Cable because he's able to do a lot of things with the Thanos character. And I agree with them. There's more range with the Thanos character compared to, doing Cable, which is more of a comedic role. I don't have anything else to say about the film. I really enjoyed it. So I guess I'll spend the next 20 minutes. If you guys have any questions or you have any statements you want to say or you want to challenge some of the complaints that I had about the film, let me know in the comments now. I'm going to take questions until it's 7:10 my time, so I'll take it until 7:30, and then I got to go to work. So go ahead, guys. Ask your questions. Who would have thought that the older brother of the Goonies would become the biggest, most threatening villain in the MCU? Hey, man, people can surprise you. What is the best performance in the film? Josh Brolin as Thanos is the best performance in the film. I would say his performance is the best. The second best is, I want to say, Zoe Saldana as Gamora. Those two had excellent chemistry. The really powerhouse performance from both of them. I would say Chris Pratt would be third. I know it's surprising for me to say that, but Chris Pratt was funny. He could be dramatic. He could be serious. He could be tough. Guy has range, and I thought he did a phenomenal job in the film. But it's definitely Thanos' story. He's the vocal point, and his performance was the best. What was the saddest death to you? Believe it or not, Groot. Groot was the saddest death. Or I guess, do you mean like permanent death? Because here's my biggest problem with the ending is that I know that the ones that faded away are going to come back. Because we already know that Spider-Man has a sequel on his way. So you can't really have a Spider-Man sequel if there's no Spider-Man. So he's coming back. We know that there's a Guardians Volume 3. And I hope they don't bring back Gamora. I hope that she stays dead. And it's going to be about them trying to, recoup from losing one of their own. And, since Nebula is a part of the team now, so, well, technically a part of the team. But I don't want them to bring back Gamora. I thought her send-off was beautiful. Well, not beautiful, but it was tragic and very well done. And it's, what breaks my heart even more? She died alone. She died with no one around her. Like, not even, she didn't even die with her compatriots. She was killed by her father figure. Or fuck, I don't even think I don't know how to describe his relationship with her, but he is her father in a sense, but not really. But to be killed at the hands of someone that you trusted for all your life, I mean, that's kind of sad. I was spoiled Loki's death before seeing the film, so I felt nothing. I didn't really feel anything with his death. I guess because I've been cheated so much when it comes to him dying, because he's done it so many times that I'm like, oh, whatever. I do feel bad because I wanted Tom Hiddleston to interact with some of the other characters too. Again, missed opportunity for that, but it's fine. His death was monumental. Let's see. In the comics, doesn't Doctor Strange use the Time Stone to bring everybody back to life and everything back to normal? To a degree, yes, that is something that happens, but it wasn't actually him. It was him with the assistance of Adam Warlock that put the world back into balance. Because him and Adam, they see eye to eye when it comes to the Infinity Stones. I think because there's a point where Adam Warlock gains control of the Infinity Gauntlet. He takes control of it, and he's the one that's going to be watching over it. But the Avengers are all like, no, no, bro, you can't do that. And he just sends them away like, what, you're going to stop me? I know how to use this. But yeah, I thought Groot's death was really sad. Even though I don't, it's like the whole Chewbacca thing where even though he goes, I still can sense the emotion in such a small performance. He's like, I am Groot. And then Rocket's reaction to seeing him fade away is, it really brings it home. And it made me go, fuck. I'm gonna miss Groot. I'm gonna miss him. Shit. Okay, let's see. I honestly would have loved to have seen Ant-Man or Hawkeye a little bit, but since a little bit since they're under house arrest. Well, that is actually one of the vocal points in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's like, "Oh, he's under house arrest." Although I find it so fucking stupid that Hawkeye wasn't in this movie. So you mean to tell me that when Captain America gives you a call and says, "Hey, I'm having a petty squabble with Iron Man. Can you help a brother out?" He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna get out of retirement to help you, Cap." But when the universe is literally on the line, oh no, I can't help you, Cap. I'm under house arrest. I can't do anything, bro. Rhodey literally went against his superiors. Is like, that's a court martial. You don't think if the universe was in danger, Hawkeye wouldn't immediately be like, I gotta do what's right, honey. I'm sorry. The universe is calling for me to help out. So yeah, I don't buy this so fucking house arrest bullshit. Give me a fucking break. Hulk defeat from Thanks was a bit what? I guess you meant Hulk being defeated by Thanos was a bit unsatisfying. I disagree. I think it's perfect. I thought that was very well done. Especially because I think this is the first time where the Hulk was soundly defeated by somebody. He's been knocked out. He's been thrashed and stuff, but he's never been outright. He never had his ass handed to him. He had his ass handed to him in this film. Soundly. It wasn't like, oh, it was a cheap shot. No. He beat him fair and square, toe to toe, knocked his ass out. I wanted more Black Panther in this film. I agree. I would have loved more Black Panther. I would have loved more Steve Rogers, Captain America. Do you think that this movie put Thanos in more of a human like was the Do you think that this movie put Thanos in more of a human like was the right thing to do? Also, what do you feel was the best Infinity Stone that was shown in the film? I don't really get the first part of your question, but as for what was the best Infinity Stone, I like the Reality Stone. They fucking wasted it in Thor: The Dark World. What a fucking waste of a film. And when I do my rankings for worst to best Marvel Cinematic Universe films, that's dead last. The only thing that we ever got from that film was the Reality Stone. That's it. And you know what? They could have introduced that in the Guardians of the Galaxy. They could have done that in Volume 2 or something. Because what a fucking waste. That movie was a waste. Is Gamora's sister going to joining the Guardians of the Galaxy? I think she's already a part of the Guardians. Maybe unspokenly, because I do remember she teamed up with them for that big fight at the end, and she kind of made up with her sister. I consider her a part of the team already. So, what's your grade for this film? I'm still gonna say that it's worth watching, although I am tempted to say that it is one hell of a film. But I do feel like there are still some problems with it that holds it back from being one hell of a film. My opinion of it might change if I see it again, which I do plan to see it again. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. I loved watching it. And I know it's kind of weird for me to say that it's only a 4 out of 5, or not 4 out of 5, worth watching, even though I've been watching it constantly. But just because it's something that I guess that's why I don't really care for ratings anymore. If I liked it, I liked it. If I didn't, I didn't. It doesn't really matter what the rating is. But I think that it is very fulfilling. It gave every fan of this franchise everything that they could possibly want. I mean, the heroes team up, they fight a very impressive villain. It's not some boring ass villain. It's not some cliche villain. It's a man with a well, I would say that he's sort of cliche in the sense that he's like, I think what I'm doing is a righteous cause kind of thing. It felt very Watchmen like, but it's fine. It works though. Even though it's cliche, it works. And I told you this, guys, a million times before. Just because something is cliche does not mean it's bad. It's how you handle the cliche. But it wasn't. It Najib, you need to kind of work. I don't know if English is your first language or your second language, but like the structuring of your sentence make no sense. I can't. I don't understand what you. I don't understand what you're trying to ask me. The scene where Spider-Man disappeared broke me. See, it would have had more of an impact on me had I not known that he has a sequel. I knew that he had a sequel, so I'm like, well, technically, it doesn't really matter. He's not gonna die. He's gonna come back. So, cheap. How many years was your channel? How old is my channel? Well, for this one, this channel is almost, well, no, it is actually 5 years old. 5 years on this channel. But I've been on YouTube since 2009. So Tony dies in part 2 of Infinity War. People want to say Steve does, but how predictable would that be if the Russo brothers did the obvious of what happens in the comic? Well, I could also use that art. I could use that against you because it would be so obvious to kill Tony, and they already attempted to kill him in this film. To do it again would be like, really? You faked us out the first time. I don't feel the second one. I think it'd be much more surprising if Steve died. Because everyone thought he was going to die in this film. He didn't. There wasn't even an inkling that he was going to die. If he dies in the next one, which I know for a fact he's dying, he's going to sacrifice himself. He's going to be the noble Captain America that I know and love. And when he sacrifices himself, I swear to God, I'm going to stand up in the theater and I'm going to salute him. I'm going to salute him like, rest in peace, Cap. What's your favorite action scene in the movie? Ooh, that's a good one. The fight with Thanos on Titan. It was creative. It was energetic. It was phonetic. I love the fast pace of the action. It was brutal. It was the entire package, honestly. It would have been so great if all the other Avengers were there also participating, but I guess it would have been a clusterfuck to see all these different actors and different characters trying to fight Thanos all at the same time, but I would have loved to see that. That fight scene was phenomenal. Doctor Strange, man. The scene where Doctor Strange, he does the whole like Hindu god thing, and he's like floating around, and then whoosh. Oh man, that was so cool. And yeah, I was actually quite surprised how he was able to hold off Thanos with his magic. It's pretty cool. God, people underrate Doctor Strange so much. He's quite powerful, and he's an interesting character. Iron Man versus Thanos. That's more fan service, man. Of course, they're gonna have. Of course, Iron Man's gonna be the last person to fight Thanos. Duh. He's the face of the franchise. I have mixed emotions with this film. I don't blame you. Some people might have mixed emotions. I was very mixed about Thanos when I first saw the film, so I understand. Do you think Avengers: Infinity War was best score of 2018? I haven't seen a lot of films. No, because I actually really like I think the Black Panther score is far better than the Infinity War score. That Black Panther score is phenomenal. Like, that is a great soundtrack. Do you feel that Thanos was portrayed in the right manner in this film? And if not, do you think they could have done what do you think they could have done to make him portrayed better? As I stated in my review, I was very torn by his representation and his motive. I didn't actually buy his motive originally, and I thought it was weak and weak and contradictory. I don't think it's weak anymore, but I still find it contradictory. But I think they portrayed him very well in this film. Now, is he like the character that he was in the comic? Absolutely not. The character in the comic is brutal, heartless, and doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. The only person he cared about was the personification of death, and we can't put death in this film. So the direction, the way that they adapted this character to fit in the realm of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was perfect. It works for this franchise. It worked for the film. So I give them props. That being said, it would have been nice to see classic Thanos at play here. Although, again, I don't know if you would be able to properly pull off. I don't think you could properly pull off classic Thanos without people saying, "Well, he's kind of a boring villain. He just wants to fight." Like, well, that's not really boring. I like that. I like a villain that's quite simple. Like, that's why the Joker to me was so effective. He's a simple villain. He wants to cause anarchy. Fair enough. That's it. He's not goal oriented. He just wants to cause mayhem. That's it. And he's one of the best villains of all time. Thanos, it would have been simple as like, I like a good fight. And I'm going to fight all of you. Like, if it was just him going around fighting the Avengers, I would have loved this film still. Like, he's just fighting to get the stones from them. But then again, it wouldn't have a lot of those small sentimental moments that the film has that I thought were really good. So again, I think for this film, the way they portrayed Thanos was perfect. I wouldn't change it, honestly. As much as I do feel like his motives are contradictory, it works well for the type of story they're trying to tell here. When it comes to killing characters we actually care about, Marvel villains probably have the lowest body count. Yeah, I guess so. That is true. The runtime of Infinity War makes me laugh because it's the runtime Justice League wish it could have had. Well, you know, we would give you that same runtime if you were actually good. Would you have liked to see Mistress Death in the film? Oh man, I would have loved it. I would have loved it. And it would have worked so well too, because the fact that there's so many romantic subplots in this film, Gamora, Star-Lord, Scarlet Witch, Vision, to a lesser degree, Bruce and Natasha, to have a love element in the film that kind of ties it all together, like he's doing this for love. Seeing Mistress Death, that would have been amazing. But the thing is, I don't think regular movie-going audience would accept Mistress Death. I don't think they would accept the personification of death. They would feel like, oh, that's so weird. So I understand why she wasn't put into the movie. I mean, my biggest concern before Infinity War even came was like, how are they even going to fight Thanos once he has all the stones? I mean, in the comics, it took all the celestial beings to fight Thanos in a fight that nobody can see because it happens so fast. It's just represented by one big explosion. But it's all of the celestial beings, the godlike beings fighting Thanos. And my worry was like, how are you going to portray that on screen? It's going to be really hard. Freaking eternity, the living embodiment of the universe, fights Thanos and loses. Then Thanos becomes existence. God damn. So my concern was how they were going to pull it off. And I feel like their execution was damn near flawless. Really well done. And I didn't even praise the camera work in this film. Watching it again, I realized there's a lot of long takes. Very well shot scenes. I'm actually impressed. Like the Russo brothers decided, switch up their style and do something unique. That's pretty cool. All right, guys. So I'm gonna end the chat now. Thank you all for watching. I do appreciate you all sitting around hearing me ramble for an hour and a half. So I really enjoyed it. Stay tuned. I need to get an anime review done. I have not done an anime review in a month. It's killing me. I promise. I'm gonna try to get an anime review done. Hopefully this week. I don't know what I'm gonna review, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try, guys. I promise. But I do thank you all for watching. Really have nothing else to say other than all that stuff. But I guess before we exit out, let's jam a little bit. You're gonna lose your mind when the rubber band starts to jam. All right, guys. If you'd like to see more videos of the channel, be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video, really enjoyed it. And I'm Tony Wise II, jamming out as the Black Critic Guy. Peace, YouTube.